This is BoomerLife on Sept26.50.
Whoa, oh, mercy, mercy me.
And welcome back to the show. This is BoomerLife on Sept26.50. I'm Joanne Sutton, and thanks to you for joining us today. I'm joined in the studio today with Carolina Arosa. Carolina is president of HomeCareAssistance. We're also joined with Peter Sillen. Peter is principal at Diamond Geriatrics. And today on BoomerLife, we've been having the conversation about a vision to change the way that the world ages and talking about caring individuals that are dedicated to a holistic approach to home care. It's an approach to care that focuses mostly on quality of life. Areas like nutrition, physical exercise, mental stimulation, and social interaction. And just before the break, Caroline and Peter, we were talking about what it's like when a client comes to you and what they can expect. And we mentioned contracts and costs, and that they're not locked in to any significant long-term contract with you. But there's also some benefits. There's some tax breaks and write-offs. And Peter, did you want to pick up where we left off, or?
No, just to say that when people come to see me, that sometimes I'm covered by veterans, the Veterans Administration. A lot of times when people have extended health, that the extended health will cover me as a registered social worker. As I said, Carolina's services may be covered through the disability tax credit. A lot of times, again, people, working people come in about an aging parent, even spouse. They have either an employee assistance program or some other program through work, and I'm sometimes covered by those. So there's really lots of options out there for people to access our services.
And I heard that people could actually make money from visiting you.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, one of the things I do is seniors housing consultations. So people, which is a longer subject, but basically, if somebody comes to me and we decide, or we figure out with them that the best thing for them is to move into some kind of seniors housing, I will find them the best seniors housing that fits what their needs is. Sometimes either in the public or the private system, and that's what makes me different from some of the other services. I don't care. What I care about is what works best for you. And sometimes, some of the best services are actually through the public system. So, but if somebody in the private system, they give what's called a referral fee, then because I charge by the hour, then I will give my clients that referral fee. So I don't get it. So they can make $500, $600 through seeing me. Some of the other services, they keep a referral fee. They don't tell their clients they get it, or it's not brought up. And a lot of times they won't refer to a place unless they get a referral fee. You come to me, I'm on your side.
Well, I think through that conversation, we've also learned of another desperate need for seniors, and that's advocacy. And I know we're going to touch on that in just a moment. But how long have the two of you been working together?
Well, I think it's been about 6 years now.
So since the inception of your business?
Since the inception of our business. I mean, someone I think had mentioned Peter to us as, again, the foremost sort of expert on the aging industry in general. And again, the only known geriatric case manager in the Lower Mainland. So for us, it behooved us to really meet with him and sit with him and get an understanding of what the service that he provides. And just throughout the years, for us, it's been a huge benefit to be able to refer to Peter because, again, like I mentioned, we have a lot of families and clients that come to us just completely lost, completely overwhelmed, not knowing, how to even begin this journey, not knowing what their options are out there. Now, from a home care perspective, we can certainly, provide, guidance and assistance. But, if they're facing much bigger issues and want to explore other options, I mean, again, Peter is the foremost authority on that. So we always refer to him for that. And again, have that peace of mind that he will advocate for their needs. He will advocate for our clients. And then that's just who he is. So, yeah.
So, Peter, we're going to turn all the tables in your direction right now. And if you could walk us through a typical process of what happens when a client comes to you. Where does the conversation start? And where does that role of geriatric case manager kick in?
Okay. So a really good example would be kind of a 40-ish woman who came to see me the other day. She has 3 children and she has an aging mother. And when she came to my office, she was just about into tears right away. And so what that tells me is kind of what Carolina referred to earlier is, people come in and there's already something happening and they're already feeling frightened. They're feeling alone, and confused. Nobody has any training in working with older parents. So what I do with people is the first thing is I just find out what is your story? What's been happening to you? What have you tried to do? What's worked? What hasn't worked? Because I'm coming in the middle of a process and I want to know how they got there. Then, as they're telling me that, and so like with this woman, I begin to ask not only about her mother's cognitive ability. I ask her how she's managing with her personal care and her daily life things, and I'd ask about the pressures on her as a family member. We tease out all the problems there, and then begin to develop some kind of care plan or care approach. And one of those, oftentimes that's, is, and I actually said to this woman, because her mother was feeling so helpless, and to me, she may have an early onset dementia. So one of the things I said was, you need to go to the doctor and you need to tease this out, and this is how you do it. But the other thing I said is, you know what? You don't have to do this alone. You can hire someone like HomeCareAssistance, and they will come in 3 or 4 times a week and let your mother depend on them. Okay? Then you focus on being the daughter and on your work. And so that kind of takes the stress out of her. At the same time, I talk to her about other issues and how you decide what are the things that you look at. I put out a newsletter every month. The one that's coming out, it's called Elder Voice. The one that's coming out this month is, how do you figure out with an aging parent what's really going on, what you need to look at. One of the things this person said to me is, my mother, she looks fine. She talks fine. And I said, so you don't listen to what she says, you look at what she's doing. Okay, so I help them figure it out.
Such powerful information, and you've raised a lot of excellent points there. So let's talk in a little more detail about what may be one of the largest needs that our seniors are facing today, and that truly is the need for advocacy. I know you both have an opinion on this, but as a senior, you don't even know what you don't know, and you don't know what your options are, and you don't know what's out there. You don't even know what questions to ask. Yeah. And who's going to step in and help you with that and ask the right questions? Yeah.
So, and one thing, when you're that confused and when you're in crisis, it almost physiologically, your reasoning power is not so good. That's how your brain functions. And so you end up feeling frightened and alone. So what I do, and what I think Carolina does in her case, we undo aloneness with people. So you feel like there's someone at your side and on your side.
And someone you can trust.
And someone you can trust, yeah. And one of the things we do after that with the advocacy is, I don't just say, okay, I'll do this and this. I'll say, I teach them what's happening and how the systems work, and this is what we're going to do, and this is who you go to, and this is how we do it. So they go from confusion to a sense of power because they understand what's going on. And it may be, I'll say, okay, let's go and talk to the hospital, or this is what the hospital explained to them. This is when the hospital says this to you, the people, this is what they're doing and this is what they mean. Okay, this is what you have to be prepared for. Say if your father or mother is going to be discharged. I had a lady, the son called me from down in the U.S. the other day, and I've been working with him in helping guide his mother through the hospital stay, getting her the best care she needs. And this woman is in her late 90s, and there's nobody here. So I would just guide him piece by piece, and then I went in, I met with the hospital, I met with the mother, and there was an incredible sense of relief and smooth process just for my being there and helping them with that.
We would call this healthcare navigation. Yeah. Correct. And I think everybody needs a little help with that as well. Let's zero in right now on care management with HomeCareAssistance. Is this is like a 4-point process?
Yeah. So as a geriatric care manager, I tell people that I can be with them from the beginning through the end, or I can be through any part of four kind of pieces. One is I'll just do a very complete assessment in, psychosocial, medical, gather all the information from all the professionals and neighbors and families and everything. It might include sitting down, having a family meeting. So I gather all that together. Then we develop what we call some kind of care plan or care directions, and look at what, how these are going to cost, how they're going to play out, and how it's going to play out down the year. So I want people to know what we're doing now, and given what the issues are, how might that play out? It could go this way, and this way, and this is what you're going to need. And the other thing is, then I can help people implement the care plan, like the lady I was talking about, whose son is in the U.S., he's not there. So with his guidance and approval, I do this, I do that, I do that. And so we put all the pieces in together. And then there's a follow-up and how is this working and what's not working and what do we have to revise. And one of the differences between the case management, care management that I do and, say, HomeCareAssistance does is I might be there much more intensively. I might be there every day for a few weeks, or something happens and I'll come in and say, okay, it looks like your mother's getting an infection, or when your mother had that fall, this is what we need to do, or you know what, it's getting to the time where we need to figure something else out, and this is how we're going to do it.
It sounds like quite an intensive program.
Yep.
That with a very thorough assessment of the situation. You obviously have to know exactly what you're dealing with before you can jump in and help and play an advocacy role. Mm-hmm. Part of that program would be the implementation of the care plan, and that could include one of the assessments agreements of moving a senior or relocating a senior and finding a different housing opportunity. What can you share about that? I don't expect that's an easy process. No, and in a lot of times people will come to me and say, well, mom's getting to be, or dad's this, and getting to be, he's not functioning very well at home, and we really think we need to move him to a senior's residence. And I had a guy coming to me, this was a few years ago now, and his father was in his 80s, and he had no other family members. And, one of the things I did with him is I talked about what it was like for him and where these ideas were coming from for him that Dad had to move. And it turned out with this man that the issue wasn't his father. The issue was his own stuff going on and that he needed to solve. Sometimes, though, so the question is, what is the real problem here? Sometimes, and what is the solution? Sometimes the solution is moving to a senior's residence. So when that happens, then we begin the psychological and practical process of what you do, finding a downsizer, finding, again, this is somewhere where I might bring in someone like Carolina who they have a support worker who's there every day while somebody goes through the move, just because it's so traumatic. And then they'll keep going to help somebody settle in. So we find the best kind of housing. What are your needs now? What are they going to be in the future? What can you afford? And also, as I said, I'm always teaching people to figure out how the system works, what's going to come down in the future. Oh, and then a lot of times, so then people move to a senior's residence, and I will follow them in the residence. I'll go to care conferences. I'll make sure they're getting the services they need and that they were promised, that I do a lot of troubleshooting. And again, this way families know and seniors know somebody is on their side looking after them. You're 100% hands-on with Absolutely. Each and every client that Absolutely. You deal with. Yeah. I understand you also wrote a book. I did. It's called Nursing Homes and Assisted Living, The Family's Guide to Making Decisions and Getting Good Care. Phew, long title. They just go Nursing Homes and Assisted Living. It was published by Johns Hopkins University Press. It's not particularly recent, but it's all about process. It's some practical stuff, but about grief, about loss. How do you start the conversation with mother and dad? How do you get good care? What does good care look like in these different places? How do you get over the resistance when somebody says, no, I'm not going to do that? And what does that mean? So that's all included in the book. It sounds like it could be appropriate for both the caregiver and the senior.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is Boomer Life on CL 650. I'm joined in studio today by Carolina Arosa, president of HomeCareAssistance, and also we've just been speaking with Peter Sillen, principal at Diamond Geriatrics. Our focus today is changing the way that the world ages and the options that HomeCareAssistance has made available to seniors or elderly here in the Lower Mainland. For more information, please visit their website, HomeCareAssistanceVancouver.ca. We're going to continue this conversation about how HomeCareAssistance and Diamond Geriatrics work together to provide much needed loving care for seniors. It's all next on CL 650's Boomer Life.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.